Ladies and gentlemen, a senior UN environmental official is now saying the entire nation could be wiped off the face of the earth by rising sea levels if the global warming trend is not reversed. Governments only have a 10-year window of opportunity to solve the greenhouse gas effect before it goes beyond human control. So we must act now. Oh, wait. No, that was actually back in 1989. You know, back when Berlin still had a wall, all right? Now, this environmental official said coastal flooding and crop failures would create an exodus of eco-refugees threatening political chaos. It was all supposed to happen by the year 2000. Now, that's funny because guess what? It's 2019, and yet here we still are, you know, just doing our thing. No catastrophe here. And yet, if you say that, if you even mention that, oh, you're a denier. You're denying climate change. The scientific consensus made by people who have proven to be wrong over and over again, well, they say it's a catastrophe. And so we must implement socialism to solve it. I mean, this is not new, guys. A scientist named George Wald, oh, very smart, very sophisticated, said civilization will end within 15 or 30 years unless immediate action is taken against problems facing mankind. Or peoplekind, as Trudeau would say. In 1970, scientist Paul Ehrlich said the death rate will increase until at least 100 to 200 million people per year will be starving to death during the next 10 years. Well, that turned out, again, to be not true. And of course, how could we forget good old Al Gore?
The entire North Polar ice cap during some of the summer months could be completely ice-free within the next 5 to 7 years.
Yeah. All you guys have to do is just stop driving your SUVs. Now, of course, Al Gore predicted in 2006 that unless we took drastic measures to reduce greenhouse gases, the world would reach a point of no return in 10 years. Oh, it's a planetary emergency, he said. Well, not just 10, but 13 years have passed, and again, here we are. They do this time and time again, and the scientific term for what they do is, I believe, called horse crap. You see them now doing it with the Green New Deal. Green New Deal, isn't that fantastic? No. It's the same old tricks to control us, to control you. But now it's in the packaging, in the form of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and her communist cronies. So here to help us unpack all of this nonsense is someone who actually used to believe all of this stuff. She was a self-fashioned SJW herself, but thankfully has since seen the light and has renounced all of it. So she now fashions herself a progressive apostate. Joining us now is Gracie West. Gracie, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So I don't know if you know this, but in 1988, the rapture was supposed to happen. It was supposed to happen on September 13th. There were a few cult pastors out there saying humanity would be damned and they would suffer in the fires of hell. Now, of course, that didn't happen because it was a crazy cult. But Gracie, you say the social justice movement is actually also a crazy cult.
Absolutely. Yeah, people get recruited into it in colleges, universities. And the most insidious part is they don't realize that they're being indoctrinated and not educated, and they're paying. It's outright theft to get a degree in the humanities today.
So the kids, they go to college, they think they're getting an education, and instead they are coming out of these universities indoctrinated with not an education?
Well, the Green New Deal is just one more piece of evidence that socialism is a parasite that rides on a host, and currently it's riding on this cult of social justice, which is being perpetuated by the high priest of academia, essentially.
And so you say it's a parasite. It's living on their host of SJWs. Are they completely unaware of this, or are they aware that they're being, basically inculcated into a cult?
No, I don't think they're aware at all. In fact, they probably don't even realize they're hearing language that's religious when they're sitting in class. The thing that this cult has in common with socialism is collectivism. They both believe people are best understood as a collective group, not as individuals. So you're representing a group. And so it fits really well together, but they don't realize they're hearing religious language when they sit in class. But the truth is professors explicitly say capitalism is immoral and socialism is best. I mean, they teach this.
So Gracie, tell us a little bit about your story, because you used to believe this stuff. You don't anymore. What did you believe, and then how did you come to see the light?
Well, I got a degree in women's studies. I graduated with honors with what that means is that I was really good at being indoctrinated. And I went on and got a graduate degree where I studied the sociology of religion, and also part of my graduate degree I studied religious feminism. So I studied feminism for an additional 2 more years. I was fully steeped in the ideologies, the theory, the rhetoric, all of it, and believed it for many years until 15 years later, when I was basically doing research on my own, and I realized no one ever taught me about the effects of socialism. No one ever taught me the effects of capitalism. They don't teach you history beyond the Holocaust, but they won't tell you the hundreds of millions of people that died under these systems. What they say instead is it's never been tried. So they say all of these countries that say they're trying it, they're not really trying it.
And it's fascinating because, it's in the name. They call it the Green New Deal. There's nothing new about this thing. I mean, this thing it's hundreds of years old, really. And the fact of the matter is that, as you said, hundreds of millions of people have died under this. They want you to think it's only fascism that kills people. No, people are killed under communism, and it's incredible because they are saying, look at they say look at Sweden, look at the northern European countries. They actually have capitalist systems in place there. I mean, those aren't socialism. Socialism is what you're seeing in Venezuela. Socialism is what you saw in communist China. Socialism is what you saw in the Soviet Union. All of these places are where socialism has done great harm to people, and they're really doing a disservice, I think, to not teach college students about this. Do you think that do you think that it's malicious in intent? Do you think they are knowingly doing something evil by not teaching these kids, these systems?
I think the high priests of academia are true believers in Marxism, in socialism, and they are perpetuating these systems on purpose, intentionally. I don't know that they have malice in their heart. I think they have been persuaded that these are superior systems to capitalism, moral systems, and so they're teaching it as a moral truth. And so, the Green New Deal is basically Marxism in a green coat.
Right.
So, but yeah, no, I don't know about the intent being malicious, but I do know it's intentional. These professors.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like putting intent on people, but I went to Columbia University, and they're Marxist there. I mean, this is one of the most Marxist universities out there. And, these are not stupid people who are teaching these classes. And if you're teaching political science, you're teaching, even history, I mean, you have to know. So that's, I've always been baffled by the idea that they don't know what they're teaching. They know history. They know what happened. And by not teaching it, I have to imagine they're doing something with evil intent. That's really the only way I can put it. But,
I don't think the professors even realize that they are religious in nature. They're behaving in a religious way. And so part of that is you have a narrative and you need to support it. And so any facts that don't fit into that, you ignore and spin it in a different way. Any evidence to the contrary is not evidence at all.
So how do you think students fix this? Do they just not go to college, or do they find other means, or do they have to educate themselves? How do students avoid getting indoctrinated into this cult?
Well, I think, first of all, they need to realize that the first thing that happens to you when you go to university is they tear down Christianity, which is the majority of Western folks' religion. So they strategically tear down Christianity methodically. So they take down every little aspect and tell you that it's wrong and bad. And so they strip students from their moral code. And then they immediately replace that moral code with something else. So I think it's dangerous for people to go into a humanities degree, especially, without recognizing this is what's going on, so that when it does happen, they're at least aware of what's happening. But otherwise, if someone's not aware, I would just say don't go into the humanities at all. It's completely infested with ideologues. And I do think of it as a cult-like phenomenon, because really the difference between a religion and a cult and this is where the AOC's new Green Deal comes in, Green New Deal. One difference between a religion and a cult is that a religion doesn't give you a date for the apocalypse. Most religions have an apocalypse. Most have an apocalypse story, but only cults will give you a date that the apocalypse is going to happen.
Right. April 13th, 1988. Or in the Green New Deal, it's going to be 12 years is what they're saying. And it's incredible because they can't predict what the weather is going to be tomorrow, let alone what the climate is going to be in 12 years. And these are scare tactics. It's completely unreasonable, and I think it's really dangerous. And I think, people like to make fun of AOC. She has a funny smile, she's stupid, what have you. What she's doing is really dangerous because what she's doing results in the deaths of literally millions of people. That's what socialism is. That's how it manifests itself, and that's what we're going to get if we continue to go down this dangerous path. And I think you're absolutely right that the universities are the first stop in indoctrinating people into believing that this is actually a solution, when capitalism and the free market is the solution, in my opinion. Gracie, that is all the time we have for it. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thanks for having me.
Gracie West, everyone. You can find her and read her at readgraciewest.com, and you can also find her on YouTube as Embarrassing Mom. Search Embarrassing Mom on YouTube to find Gracie West. We appreciate you guys watching. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.